In this hour on the 700 Club, you've heard her chart-topping music and her story of tragedy and triumph. But have you heard about the miracle of grace that touched her life? You will just ahead in an exclusive interview with Naomi Judd. The 700 Club.
Welcome back. Our next guest took the country music world by storm with a whirlwind career that made her and her daughter superstars. But the good times took years in coming. The old days were full of small beginnings and big challenges for a single mom raising two daughters. And here to share her amazing story from Franklin, Tennessee, would you please welcome to the 700 Club, Naomi Judd. We are so glad to see you. You're so sweet to come and be with us.
I'm usually sitting at home in my bathrobe watching you. This is fun.
Well, now you can tape it and take it home and watch again. You know, you and your daughter were at the top of everything, and all of a sudden you had this disease. Are you disappointed, sad? Are you happy that it's all worked out the way it has?
Well, I've learned one thing, that change is the true nature of this world.
Yeah.
It's really about the only thing that we can count on in this life. Yeah, it was pretty weird, you know, just when you figure you got something that you can do, because I was 37 before anything like that had ever happened to me. And it was all of a sudden like everything that had happened to me, all the tragedies and struggles and hard times, made sense. Because in country music, you get to communicate with these folks. And I could see myself in their circumstances because I'd been through so much. And I felt like I could relate to them. And Winona and I healed our relationship. The first time in my life, I had medical insurance, I had life insurance, I had 3 burial plots, I had, I had a future.
There isn't everybody. I don't have any burial plots.
That's the hillbilly ethic, you know. You get yourself a Cadillac, you get some money buried in a mason jar somewhere in the backyard, and that's it. You got it.
You got it made, you're on top.
I felt like everything was just perfect, and I didn't want change, you know. I didn't want anything to change. I had just married my Prince Charming. He and I had made many trips to hell and back. We'd finally figured things out. So, presto changeo, there you go.
Hey, did you ever come down, a lot of us, you know, there was even a song written, why me, Lord, you know, but did you ever ask God, why? Why did it happen this way? What are you doing to me?
You know, that's a strange thing, Pat. I never did say that. I'm a registered nurse, and a great lady named Kubler-Ross wrote a book years and years ago that helped all of us to teach people about the grieving process, whether you lose a loved one or a limb or a relationship, a job or whatever. And there's 5 predictable stages. The first one is denial. You know, oh, this can't be happening to me. All my singles are #1 and my albums are platinum. You know, we're undefeated at the award shows. It can't happen to me. I went through that. But the second phase is where you sort of shake your fist at the heavens and say, why me? I never did that, curiously enough. And perhaps that's because I've been through so much that I knew anything was possible. If I can go from being on welfare to finally having a savings account, you know, and owning my own land. If I can go from being a struggling single mom with a very tumultuous relationship with my daughter to being each other's best friends and having a completely healed bond, I guess I knew that as a child of the Most High God that this was, I always had a sense that I was in bigger and better hands. And I had to realize that actually the deepest source of my identity wasn't being a Judd or being a singer or being a nurse or being anything. It was being a child of God. And if you don't have anything, but you still have that, you're going to be okay.
Well, you learned the greatest lesson. Of course, Job had all those trials, and he used the term, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. And he didn't curse God. His wife said, hey, Job, curse God and die and get out of here. You didn't do any of that. You no fist in the face of the Lord and say, Lord, why? Didn't
no,
That's great.
I have been doing research for 3 years now, ever since my diagnosis with liver disease, and it's the 4th killer in America, and nobody knows that. But it's heart disease, cancer, deaths related to drugs or alcohol, isn't that sad? And liver disease. And when I was diagnosed in '89, they used those awful words, terminal and incurable, I was real lucky because first of all, I had my faith. I've always been a believer. And secondly, I'm an RN. So I'm one of them. I'm a member of the medical community. And I had to step out in faith at that moment and realize that God's a supernatural being, that the universe runs on spiritual laws. And I knew enough about the mind-body thing, Pat, because I've been a nurse so long, that I realized that our body hears everything we say.
Yeah, there's no question.
And that the mind controls the body. So if you know the peace of Jesus, and you've got that in your mind, then you can stimulate your body's immune system. You can do away with all the stressors, the catecholamines and the cortisols, the negativity and stress and fear. So for 3 years, I've been doing phenomenal research in the mind-body field.
The disease you had it's an acute form of hepatitis, which
Chronic.
is chronic. It's an immunosuppressive situation, just like AIDS. It works the same basic way, and it kills people. That's what. But you found the secret to make your immune system begin to function again. Is that what you're telling me?
Absolutely.
What was the secret besides praying and seeking the Lord?
Well, now, let me put things in a proper perspective, because here I am sitting with this guy in a white lab coat. And he's showing me a pathology report on a liver biopsy. He's showing me blood tests and x-rays and CAT scans and all that hard empirical medical data. And you have to appreciate I'm a nurse, so I know what this means. And I had to do a real serious attitude adjustment and realize that these doctors, God bless them, are not gods. And these medical books that I was so enamored of are really not Bibles. And I had to, against the headache from hell and all the aches and the pains, if you can imagine having had the flu for years, that's what I felt like, I had to ignore my perceptions and my 5 senses. Because I just want people to realize that perception is more important in dealing with reality than the truth is. See? Our 5 senses sometimes lie to us. You know this.
Sure.
If I walked into a lounge and sat next to you at a bar and you were getting drunk, I wouldn't recognize you.
You really? Believe me, you wouldn't.
I mean, if it was really you sitting there, I would not recognize you, because I don't expect, my perception is not that of Pat Robertson. So that's what I'm trying to say. Our perceptions lie to us all the time. You and I walk outside, we look at the earth and we think it's flat. We know it's not. If we stand, it feels like the earth is solid and firm beneath our feet, but it's spinning. And even though my senses were telling me that I was being poisoned and I wanted to be in the fetal position in bed in a darkened room, I stepped out in faith and started praying the answer. Don't ever pray the problem. You pray the answer.
And the answer was complete wholeness, wellness, or what did you pray? Remission or healing?
I started saying, and this was a real big lesson for me. It's so simple, but a very wise man named Charles Capps. Do you know Charles?
Oh, sure, cool.
He started teaching me that the most important thing in the world are words. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So I started praying, Father, by whom all things are made, you're the supreme intelligence behind this universe. And you created peace, and you created wellness and wholeness. And I'm going to trust completely in you that tomorrow I'm going to feel better. And the next day I'm going to feel even better than that. And my ALT, my liver enzyme, is going to subside. And my liver cells are going to rejuvenate themselves. And people with cancer and AIDS and liver disease and all the incurable diseases need to realize that God gives you all these promises. He says, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou should prosper and be in good health, even as thy soul prospereth. And if you realize that fear is the exact opposite of peace, and when I'd start freaking out, oh my God, I can't die. Winona and Ashley and Larry need me. I love my career too much. When I started getting into doubt and negativity, I realized that's from Satan. He's the one that created illness and doubt and despair and fear.
That's right. Well, you know, God said it this way. He said, a man shall eat good by the fruit of his lips. And it's the confession that you make. The word is, God works through our spirit, then to our mind, then to our voice, then we control the outside world through that. And you've learned a great secret. This isn't some kind of psycho-babble, mind over matter. This is deeply ingrained. And in the beginning was the Word was with God. The Word, God spoke, and it was so. So you're just doing what God said.
I'm so
and it
glad,
works.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because too many people, and I don't know how this misconception got out there, perhaps it's Satan working, but too many people think that the mind-body connection is New Age, which just really frustrates me. It's not New Age. The mind-body connection is the most real thing in the universe. That's the oldest form of healing that there is.
But the mind-body connected as you have with the Spirit of God into your spirit, then controlling your mind. You know, if it's just mind, then it's, yes, it's New Age. but
is that it?
That's
is that
it.
how people get confused?
Yeah, because I mean, psychosomatic is soul body. Suke is soul, soma is body, so psychosomatic. But the Christian has his spirit filled with the Spirit of God. And so you're proclaiming God's words after him, and then through your mind to your body, and it works.
Well, I've been meeting with some of the most brilliant minds in America. Guys like Dr. Blair Justice, who's a devout Christian and wrote a fabulous book called Who Gets Sick? If anybody wants to read a book that's a great, everybody can understand this. He's a professor of psychology at the University of Texas in Houston. He's been given a research grant by the NIH to give us scientific hard data about how the mind can heal the body. And there are these wonderful esoteric pockets all across America of just fabulous, exciting research being done. And right now we don't have anybody to stand in that little gap and explain to the average person how all this is happening. And I really feel like we're on the cusp of a major medical revolution in America.
Thrilled. I'm also glad that I've been teaching these things for years.
I know.
But it's the truth. This is the way power flows. There's nothing, you know, New Agey about it. The New Age may be stealing a half-truth from God, but this is New Age. This is the way it works. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got to, I know some people want to ask Naomi some questions besides me. This is her new book, Naomi Judd, Love Can Build a Bridge, and I think you might enjoy getting it. It's at bookstores all over the place, and I'm sure if it's not a bestseller, it's going to be, and you'll
It's on the New York Times bestseller list. It debuted there and has been all along, but what matters to me is that I'm able to talk to people about the 8 characteristics we've isolated, that we've described now for people who seem to survive a catastrophic disease. And it's stuff like having faith and a positive outlook on life and support system. Because for years, these people have been coming up to me in the grocery store or on the street and saying, how in God's name are you able to keep yourself in remission and be this walking miracle? And I can say, it's in the book.
You're going to touch people that never go near a church, and I'm delighted for it. We've got some Jay Sekulow, great lawyer, is in the audience with these people. Jay, would you put some witnesses on for the defense and see what they have to say?
First witness now. Actually, we have a question here from Nancy for Naomi.
Yes, Naomi, you have the most wonderful opportunity to really minister to people internationally, and I just wondered, what do you feel your responsibility is to them as a Christian and as a woman who has endured an incredible amount in her life?
Wow, that's very kind of you. I guess I could say this, Nancy, that I feel like we're all in this together and everything happens for a reason. And I've never felt different from anybody else. In fact, I've always sort of felt like I was maybe these folks' representative, you know, that I was supposed to just talk about what I knew firsthand, what had happened to me, whether it's, you know, being on welfare at one point in my life, or being an abused woman, raising kids by myself, being a single mom, struggles where I was really involved in unfortunate relationships, choosing bad men, or even making this impossible dream of being in country music coming true. What I have figured out is that hope was always my constant companion, no matter whether I was in the hospital, you know, with a life-threatening disease or whatever. Hope seems to propel us beyond our doubts, and it keeps us from sinking down in our fears, even our self-doubts and self-imposed fears. But I just feel like the world is in such darkness right now. I've been profoundly disturbed for years about what I see going on in America. And we need to realize that God created peace and serenity and contentment, and it's there for us. And I just wish that I could help people go to the next level of understanding and make them more aware.
You've learned a message just perhaps a whole lot more important, not perhaps, it's a whole lot more important than some of those nice songs you sang. I mean, it really is. I mean, this is going to touch people's lives more greatly than anything you've ever known. One last question. Jay, what do you have?
Question from Bobby.
Hi. You raised two beautiful, successful girls, and you were a single mom. What advice can you give not only to single moms, but to the rest of us who are struggling with raising daughters?
Well, I'm really more proud of what Winona and Ashley Judd are as women, as human beings, than any of their successes, actually. That's what any mother wants. I would say that teaching a child that they're loved unconditionally, because this is real scary. By the time a kid's 3 years old, behavioral scientists tell us that they have the self-concept that they're either a winner or a loser in life. Isn't that awful? By the time they're 3.
Incredible.
I mean, we just have such a short time. And if you give your kid that assurance that they're a whole little package, that they've got unconditional love, that they're a child of God Almighty Himself, then you sort of send them out into the world, knowing that they're this little unit and that they're special, that they've got that birthright. Because I mean, the world is just completely falling apart because the
really
family
hard.
unit, that's the #1. It doesn't matter who's president. We can hire all the more policemen, build all the more jails, but until we start paying attention to our families.
But those parents, you know, the thing is that so many of them, they say to kids, you're not going to make it, you're dumb, you're no good, you're worthless. And the kid hears that, and you program him by the time he's 3, and he's programmed as a loser. You're absolutely right. Or, you know, you're wonderful, we love you, you know, God loves you, and they put their shoulders back and they say, I'm something special. It's up to the parents. You did a good job. God bless you. That's all the time we've got. I wish we had a lot more. Read the book. It's a good book. It goes into some details we couldn't get here. We appreciate Naomi coming here with us. God bless you, and may He continue to use you for His glory.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the chance to be here.
Coming up, a music mentor launches a career